Well, today, guys, in this video, we're going to be talking about 10 albums that make you want to play guitar. Let's get into it. So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube, and this video is going to be talking about the albums that make you want to play guitar, that inspire you to pick up the guitar. When you hear it, you're like, I gotta go play right now. Before I tell you guys my list, feel free to leave down below your albums, whether it's 1 through 10, 1 through 5, or just your favorite album of all time that makes you want to pick up the guitar and inspires you to play. This isn't necessarily your favorite album in general. It could be, but I'm talking about the albums that, like, when as soon as you hear it, you're compelled to want to go play guitar, practice, etc., etc. So without further ado, let's get on into it. Okay, coming in at number 10 is arguably the most obvious choice, and that is the self-titled Van Halen album. Now, I think almost every rock and metal guitar player, as soon as they hear Eruption, they automatically are inspired to want to play guitar, and they automatically want to go in their bedroom and play Eruption, and that happened for me. I can remember when my dad put that on our stereo surround sound system in like 1998, 1999, when I was, 6 or 7 years old. When I heard that, it's just like what everybody else does when they hear that. They're just absolutely blown away. And, and it just inspired me to just be like, dude, one day I want to be able to play that. And, I've spent many years in my bedroom up all night trying to learn how to play Eruption. So for that song alone, I feel like this entire album has to be on the list, but there's a lot of great riffs on there too. I mean, Running with the Devil, You Really Got Me, Feel Your Love Tonight, Ice Cream Man, it goes on and on. So Van Halen, iconic album, I have to put it on here on this list at number 10. Okay, coming in here at number 9 is And Justice for All. And Justice for All, in my opinion, has the best riffs. I mean, the title track and One, absolutely killer. Blackened is another one. That's just my favorite guitar-centric album from Metallica. I just think it has the best riffs. And Blackened and Justice for All, in my opinion, specifically, are the reason why that album's here on this list at number 9. Alright, coming in here at number 8 is actually my least favorite Slipknot album, and that is All Hope Is Gone. Now, this is really ironic because All Hope Is Gone, like I said, probably my least favorite, well, definitively my least favorite, but at the same time, it has the best guitar riffs and is the most guitar-oriented Slipknot album. I mean, there's like awesome solos, awesome riffs. I mean, like the opening track, Gematria, or whatever it's called, the killing name, I can never figure out how to say that word, but that's on there. Even like Psychosocial, just like such a, a banger of a riff. It's just so simple, but so like heavy all at the same time. But even like the title track, All Hope Is Gone, Gehenna, Snuff, so much incredible guitar-oriented stuff, while at the same time not my most favorite album from the band. But when I heard All Hope Is Gone in 2008, I absolutely, was like, all right, I gotta learn this. I gotta learn how to knock out some of these songs, and that's why this is on this list at number 8. Okay, coming in here at number 7 is really the only shreddy album, if you will. I'm not a shredder. I like riffs a lot more, but I had to put this album on here, and that is Images and Words from Dream Theater. I mean, Pull Me Under and Under a Glass Moon, specifically, those two songs are some of my favorite Dream Theater songs of all time. Pull Me Under, a little cliche, but I can't help but love that riff, that I mean, so sick. And then the solo with the wah, I mean, it's such a great album. I mean, great song on the album. But even all the other songs like Another Day, Take the Time, Learning to Live, just a classic album. I had to put it on this list here at number 7. All right, coming in here at number 6 is actually a bit of, I'm kind of cheating here a little bit because it's actually not an album or audio release. It's actually a DVD, and that is Stevie Ray Vaughan live at the El Macumbo. Now, this DVD was in the rotation constantly when I was a kid, man, and that this live performance from Stevie Ray Vaughan in Double Trouble is just so iconic, and just it made me almost as infatuated with Stevie Ray Vaughan as I was angered by his abilities. I mean, he was just way before his time, in my opinion, and he was like one of the only players, in my opinion, to bridge the gap between like blues, like, deep-rooted blues, rock and roll, and even like shredding. I mean, he was like shredding as a blues player, and that was very unique and rare, and that's why, in my opinion, why he became so popular, is he was bridging all of the gaps between several genres of music all at the same time, sounding solely like him. And, the standout track for me on that DVD is Voodoo Child, and then also to Texas Flood, too, because his solo, he just completely just improvises for, 6 or 7 minutes straight, and he never runs out of ideas. And he's just so compelling and so fun to watch and mesmerizing. And I had this DVD, my dad had this DVD when I was like 9, 10. And so he would throw it on, man. It just was so fun to be a little kid watching this DVD with my dad. And it just inspired me to want to play guitar. Okay, coming in at number 5 is the most underrated Hendrix album in my opinion, and that is the Band of Gypsys live album from the Fillmore on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You know, it's such a shame Hendrix passed away before the Band of Gypsys could really do anything, you know, quote-unquote official, like an actual release, a studio release. But, I mean, Changes, Machine Gun, Who Knows, Message of Love, just probably those songs right there are some of my favorite, if not my favorite, Hendrix songs of all time. And just that opening riff with Who Knows, man, it's just such a sick groove with Buddy Miles and Billy Cox in the rhythm section. It's so fun to listen to, and I listen to it, you know, at least once a month, every month, ever since I got it back in 2003 for a Christmas present. But it just inspired me to want to learn some Hendrix stuff, learn some blues, and, you know, just kind of get some groove and some funk into my playing. So I love that album for that. All right, coming in at number 4 is probably an unpopular opinion, but it's my favorite Pantera album, and that is The Great Southern Trendkill. And the reason being is because it's so dark and sinister compared to the other releases from Pantera. You know, Pantera prior to this was kind of like, you know, they were heavy. I mean, don't get it twisted, but they're just like kind of like a party band in a way, like a party metal band, whereas this album, it was like just very dark and very evil and kind of angry sounding. And it was kind of like a weird transition when this album came out. I think, what, 96? Correct me if I'm wrong. The standout track, in my opinion, is undoubtedly Floods. I mean, that's the best dime solo of all time. And, you know, I disagree with anybody who thinks otherwise. You're entitled to your opinion, but I certainly disagree. Floods is amazing. Drag the Water is such a sick riff. I mean, there's just so many songs on that album, but I think for me, what inspired me was Floods. The solo and the outro, just that add 9 kind of shape just moving all over the fretboard in C-sharp standard. So sick, man. And that song alone inspired me to want to pick up the guitar, learn that solo, and it's definitely my favorite Dimebag and Pantera album. Okay, coming in at number 3, another unpopular opinion. You guys would probably be surprised why this album is so high on the list, and that is Horizons by Parkway Drive. Now, this is the inner metalcore kid in me coming out and shining through right now. I love old school Parkway Drive. Not too fond of the direction the band's in now. It's a very radio rock. But back in the day when they were just, you know, just kids doing the metalcore scene, I love Horizons. I think it's the perfect mix of like ignorant heavy breakdowns and melody and shredding and, you know, melodic solos all wrapped into one. And it really separates Parkway Drive as a metalcore band compared to its competitors, in my opinion. You know, songs like Carrion and the title track Horizons, Boneyards is so sick, the Siren song, I could go on. And at one point in time, I had literally the entire album memorized, and I could play it from start to finish, you know, along with the album. And so it certainly inspired me to want to pick up the guitar and play. So that's why it's on the list at number 3. All right, top 2. I don't think you guys would be able to guess my top 2. It's not what you're thinking, I guarantee you. So number 2 for me is Sacrament by Lamb of God. Now, you could put almost any Lamb of God album on this list, in my opinion. You know, Ashes to the Wake. You know, I would put Wrath up here. I'd put Resolution. But for me, Sacrament is my favorite Lamb of God album. And it's not too focused on like speed metal, as Chris Adler calls it. It's very, very groove oriented. And a track that I believe shines through in this idea that I'm trying to convey is Descending, for sure. I think that song is really unique. And actually, the funny thing about that song is when the band was recording it, Chris Adler and Willie kind of hated it because it wasn't like speed metal, it wasn't thrash or whatever you want to call it. But Mark Morton stood behind it, and then it certainly is a standout track on the album. And I think it really shines through. And I think it's actually a fan favorite. It's really unique, really cool. You know, something different at the time in 2006 when it came out. I just at one point in time, again, kind of like Horizons, had the whole album memorized from start to finish, and I just played along with it. And, you know, I've said it every once in a while, I say it on the channel, and I don't mean that I'm as good or better than these two gentlemen, but in my opinion, I feel like my style kind of emulates the Willie Adler, Mark Morton type of vibe, where like I'm a rhythm player, but I can write a lead here and there, and I can solo here and there if I need to. I'm not a shredder, I'm a riffer, but, you know, I think Lamb of God is the perfect balance of melody and riffs all at the same time. So I try to emulate some of their styles into my own playing. And so, again, Sacrament is just my favorite Lamb of God album. That's why it's here on number 2 on the list. Okay, number 1. I don't think you guys are going to guess it. I think you guys think you know what I'm going to say, but I have to tell you, you are way off. My number 1 album that makes me want to play guitar and inspires me to play is Led Zeppelin II. Led Zeppelin II is the best Led Zeppelin album and is probably, in my opinion, the best rock and roll album. I think it is so ahead of its time. I mean, the opening track, Whole Lotta Love, that riff, that is metal. That is metal before metal was metal, if that makes any sense. I mean, this is before Black Sabbath. This is before, Kiss and, all the 70s metal and everything. Zeppelin were the pioneers of metal. And I think this album is like the first, quote unquote, commercial metal album in my opinion. Yes, it's not full on metal, and there's a lot of non-metal stuff on there, like Thank You and the opening to Bring It On Home and Ramble On. I get it, but I'm just saying, like, Heartbreaker and Whole Lotta Love and the main riff to Bring It On Home and just those. Oh, Lemon Song too a little bit. Those riffs are just so groovy and so heavy, and for being so old in 1969, what's that, 51 years old now? 51 years ago, this band was doing metal before metal was a thing. And again, going back to my dad, I tell you guys all the time, my dad had this, my dad had that. He showed me this album when I had to be like 6 or 7. I can't remember exactly when I heard it, but I remember hearing a Whole Lotta Love and Bring It On Home and just being like infatuated with Zeppelin. And I always said all the time, Zeppelin was my dad's favorite rock band. And so I grew up a Zeppelin fan. And then once I started playing the guitar, of course I had to emulate Led Zeppelin II, but it always inspired me to want to pick up the guitar and play. Bring It On Home, Whole Lotta Love, and Heartbreaker. Those 3 riffs are why I'm sitting here today. I really do believe this album is very special, and it has inspired me to continue to practice and try to get better at the guitar. So everybody, that is my list. Again, if you want to leave your list down below, I'd really appreciate it. What albums have inspired you to want to pick up the guitar and play? Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're brand new to my channel, you want to consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. A huge shout out to all my patrons and everybody tuning in at home. I hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying healthy. Let's hunker down. Let's get through this together. I'm out of here. Stay metal, everybody. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.